met up with a UK couple yesterday who are living in a similar style to Yvonne and I, however, more experienced. When I make these videos, I don't necessarily have all the answers. Kind of figuring a lot of this stuff out as we go, but just trying to like live it, trying to experience it, and then sharing it here on the channel for people that might be interested in living a different way. When we met up with Paul and Cheryl yesterday, sat for 3 hours chatting to them, and it was fascinating. Today is Thursday, the 30th of April, it's just after 10 AM. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that chat from yesterday. Just out for a morning walk, right? This is how we get our steps in. I've promised Yvonne coffee and breakfast, so she is just in front of me, heading for finding the cafe stop and the breakfast. Right now, Paul and Cheryl. I asked Paul if he wanted to appear on camera, a little bit like I'd done with Kelly, but he didn't want to, and you've got to respect that. Now, Paul is, I would say, has a very keen eye for photography. He's got an Instagram page, I'll put it here. It's Paul Creative Anderson. I've been following him for a while and he's been following this channel. So we've been communicating with each other, and then we both ended up here in Sanur. And he invited us yesterday to go and meet him and Cheryl, have a little chat, and it was great. I wish I could have caught some of it on video, but also I'm glad we didn't, because it was just a nice, free, open chat about life, about travel, right? So let me quickly say this. Paul and Cheryl, I don't know, I wouldn't want to, I didn't ask them their age, maybe very early 50s, could be very late 40s, I don't know. But they have exited the UK. Now there's always a little bit of a crossover in these stories that I find, right, that links into my situation and Yvonne's situation. There tends to be a running theme, right? So Paul's mother passes away, we're caring for his dad, and his dad passes away, and you go through that bit of life change. And they had decided before Paul's father passed away to sell their house and buy a camper van. So they were living in a camper van. And then when his dad passed away, they decided, right, well, we'll travel with a camper van, but we'll also travel further afield and expand where we've been going. And I think from the chat that we had, as a couple getting together, meeting and getting married, they'd always had travelling ambitions and had seen out some of those ambitions, but now it's like at a new level. Now, obviously for me, relating that back, right, that's my dad passing was the big trigger, and Yvonne lost aunties and grandparents and was going through her own situation. And then obviously there's the job and all that in it, right, who you are, careers. And Paul struck me as a very intelligent man, works in contracts, has ran eBay and various online sales stores. And I'm not talking about contracts, I was explaining my insurance debacle, talking about the contracts there, and he was really in tune with my thought process, I think, so that was good. Now, when Paul's father passed away, they decided to start travelling, and in doing that, what I was blown away by, right, is that they've been to 90 countries travelling now. Sometimes spend a few weeks. They're here in Bali, I think spending about a month, and then they move on. And they've just recently been to China, and that's somewhere that Yvonne and I are thinking about going to at some point, China. They've just been. So again, it's like, you know, I'm making these videos, sharing this information with you as somebody that's learning en route. As my old boss used to say at a past business, we're flying the plane while we're building the plane, John. She was right on that. See, when I shifted my mindset to accepting that, because my brain's always like, got to have an answer, got to have a solution, 10 solutions to fix this problem, and sometimes some problems you never fix. Some you fix on the way, and you got to be able to roll like that. And that's very much like this travel stuff. Some things you can do before you leave, and other things you just got to kind of accept that you might need to deal with it en route, or they might never get dealt with. Once you can accept that, it's easier to get on with this life. But they've just been to China, looking to go back to China, but 90 countries, stay for a month, maybe 2 months and move on. And I was asking them the question, the difficult one, how do you fund all of this? How do you pay for it all? And they sold their house with maxed out ISAs, so they're earning interest on savings in ISAs and in bank accounts, and that pretty much covers the bills. They live on a budget, and they're effectively plugging the gap between now doing all of this and then pensions. And that's the same for Yvonne and I. We both have private pensions. We're clearly in our late 40s and no longer investing into those pensions, so whatever's in it at this point is in it. But we've got now a brokerage account and some savings, and we're using that. And then to reduce down the burn, I make YouTube videos and run my Patreon page where I talk about these investments in more detail. 110 members on it now, thank you everybody that's joined. And that helps reduce down the burn, right? So if my monthly burn rate, by that I mean cost of living, is 1,500 quid or 2,000, and I can bring in 1,500, then my burn rate from my savings would be 500. But if I can bring in more than that, then for a month my burn rate is effectively zero. And that's exactly what they're doing. Some months living a little bit more expensive, some months living a little bit less and just working through the costs and travelling. And at some stage, some radio in the background blasting, and at some stage their pensions will kick in. Cheryl was in the civil service, Paul, as I mentioned, eBay, and now he does photography, right? So that's where again it brought it back to my interest. I'm looking at his Instagram page and I've seen him travelling recently to Vietnam and doing bus transfers, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. He's on these incredible looking buses with a bed and everything, TV and internet on it, and travelling between different locations. And I'm like, gosh, I admire that, right? That's, you know, some people will watch this channel and they're watching what Yvonne and I do and maybe find a bit of inspiration in it. And then I meet somebody like Paul and Cheryl and I get inspiration from them. 90 countries. And Yvonne and I have only ever thought about Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, Bali, Indonesia. These locations, cheaper living, reduce our costs. And then you meet Paul and Cheryl and they tell you about all these places and the fun things that's happened. Staying in campsites for £5 and just having an experience, which is what Kelly said the other day, right? You've got to remember sometimes some of these places you're staying, it was £10. And I talk about Kuta Beach, right? That was probably our roughest experience, but it was still a bed, still had a roof, all right? It smelt a little bit of damp, still had a nice swimming pool outside, and it was a tenner. So you got to remind yourself sometimes that that's the cost. And that kind of came home to me yesterday. But of course, my dad was a photographer. That was his job later in life after retiring as a school janitor for 20 odd plus years. And Paul's got a great eye. Flies a drone, takes video footage, got his cameras with him. We were talking about camera tech yesterday. I'm now debating buying a camera, and actually a proper camera, because I love taking photography, but I love taking pictures, photography, do a lot of street photography, and here in Bali has been an amazing experience for that, just capturing life. So we spent a bit of time yesterday just chatting about that also. And it was a lovely meet. Again, it's a shame we didn't get it on video, but at the same time, me telling you all of this hopefully is enough. So thanks Paul, thanks Cheryl. Enjoy the coffee and a tea, and they very kindly bought that. So again, we're very grateful from Yvonne and I. Enjoyed the 3 hour chat, and you have these little meets with people, right? Kelly, Adam, Luke and his family, and now with Cheryl. It's just like you go through these moments, you meet people and you're like, hello, have some time, and then you all move off and you think you'll probably just see each other again somewhere down the line in another country at another time maybe. And that's the kind of experience of all of this. Right, that was it. I thought I would just share a little bit of that. Thanks Paul, thanks Cheryl, and I'll see you in the next one. You can leave me any comments about this down below. Thanks for watching everyone. Are you in it? Are you in it? Are you in it? I'm in it!